So, hey guys, and welcome to the Zabbix Spotlight, Zabbix Summit Edition, 10-year anniversary, and today as the first guest we have Nathan. So, Nathan, could you please do like a brief introduction, who you are, how are you familiar with the Zabbix, and shortly, what do you do?
All right. Thanks for inviting me, first of all. My name is Nathan Liefting. I work for Opensource ICT Solutions. We're Zabbix premium partner based out of the Netherlands. And basically, I've been working with Zabbix since the end of 2, when it was first transitioning to Zabbix 3. So we were in the process of doing upgrades, and yeah, I kind of got into it because we had a bunch of network devices, small ISP network that we just wanted to monitor. And from that network monitoring, I really got into it as a network engineer. And then at one point, I just decided when Brian, my colleague, invited me to work full-time with Zabbix, I was just like, I have to take this. It's going to be fun.
Okay, and you're also quite visible as a community person of the Zabbix for everybody who are already working with the product and visiting like Reddit, Telegram, some forums, blog posts. They probably already seen your name. So we know that you're writing a lot of the blog posts and trying to help like beginners of the product with some beginner questions, right? How to set it up, how to troubleshoot some issues or whatever. What is like your idea behind of like sharing all this knowledge? Because of course you're still like busy with your daily work in a business. So what makes you to give that piece of your knowledge to the community?
Yeah, that's a perfect question. We have a lot of customers and stuff like that that ask us questions like that all the time, and then we're basically just repeating a lot of the steps that we normally do. And when it comes to that important content, like for example the partitioning blog post we have and the backup blog post that we recently wrote, it's just like that content should be out there and it should be available to the community. So we feel like we should make it available and write that stuff up.
It's like really good idea because of course we have like documentation and all stuff of that, but you as a real Zabbix user and someone who works with it can share like actual use cases and some best practices of how to do things. So sharing that with community, of course, is like a huge value, and thank you for that. But aside of like the blog posts, one of the major things why people could know your name and be familiar with you is a Zabbix book. So not just one, right? I think there were 2.
Yeah, we actually have two Zabbix books. We started writing the Zabbix 5 book because there were some books out there already, but every single time a new Zabbix version is released, you have new content, new features, and new stuff to write up, and the entire workflow changes.
Could you give some like briefly cover the content of the book? What could people expect out of it? Is it just like raw documentation of features and how they work, where it also includes some your experience and best practices, how to use this functionality and get the maximum out of the Zabbix with the native functionality?
Yeah, so the way we wrote the book is, and that's why we called it Zabbix 5 and now Zabbix 6 IT Infrastructure Monitoring, is because we want to cover basically the beginning, installation, but also all of the different parts of IT infrastructure monitoring and how you can set that up. So we do the installation, but we also do the SNMP monitoring. We work with the Zabbix API, with the HTTP agent checks. We work with JMX monitoring. We try to cover as much as possible. And then once you move through the book, once you've done the basic setups, you also go into like the deeper stuff that you want to learn, the integrations and even how to set those up yourself, and even the extension of Zabbix. So we also talk about the API. We take a look at Python scripts and how you can use those scripts to extend the functionality of Zabbix. For example, building a jump host, like a host that you use to jump onto all your different machines, using the information available in Zabbix and using the API. So we really try to cover it start to finish.
A book, it basically means like a physical thing that you have to take and read. And we know that nowadays there are different people, someone who prefers reading, someone who prefers reading on a computer, which still is a different thing. And there are also quite a lot of like video content and some courses available for the Zabbix, the webinars and stuff like that. What was your decision to go exactly in this direction, to create a physical book about the technical product, about the software, which initially might seem like complicated, at least in the form of like formatting the code and some config files, when it's easier to like show live and not put it on a paper? So what was the consideration?
It's kind of a selfish consideration because I kind of like writing. So that's the first thing. You do what you feel that you're good at, like writing it down and putting it all on paper. It just feels real and it feels tangible once you have a book in your hand. But there's also a lot of people that like the ebook stuff. Yeah, it's less interactive than, for example, a video that you find on YouTube or anything like that. But it also allows you to just pick up that copy, grab your ebook if you prefer the copy on your laptop, and start off where you left off. And with YouTube videos, of course, you can go through it as well, but normally it's more of a one sitting. So it's kind of a nice way to pace yourself as well when you read it in the book format. And we felt like this isn't out there yet. There weren't really any books about the new versions. So get it out there, and for the people that prefer that book, there it is. It's available, and you can get it.
Sounds good. And how about the structure of the book? Like, you know that there are many like beginners, the people who are just today, they decided that they will work with a Zabbix. Is this book like sufficient for them, or you do expect the people reading it to have some at least beginner experience and understanding of the software and what you can do with it?
This is exactly where writing a book like this gets pretty difficult, actually, because if you write a book in a format where you have to start at the beginning to be able to set up all the different steps and all the different kinds of monitoring, you might end up with somebody that chooses Zabbix for their SNMP monitoring having to build Java monitoring. And it makes no sense to them, perhaps, and it doesn't really fit into what they want to learn. So the way this is set up is we have these structures called recipes. And each of the recipes should be individually possible to be executed. So if you already have a Zabbix environment and you don't need to do the installation part, you can skip that part in the book. You can grab the piece about the monitoring stuff, so setting up your host and your interfaces, or if you already have a host, just skip right to the actual SNMP monitoring or Java monitoring to stick with those examples, and start to use that recipe to build that type of monitoring.
Okay, so currently we know that you have a book about the Zabbix 5.0, right? And Zabbix 6.0. Zabbix 7.0 will be released next year. Can we say right now that Nathan is one of the writers about a Zabbix constantly, and it was not just one case to try it out? Can we expect the new books from you about LTS versions, or maybe even some not LTS like 6.4 or something like that?
To write a book about a major release that isn't LTS, it is too fast. It's too much content. It costs a lot of time to put this all on paper. So I don't think we'll have a feature major release kind of book. But sticking to the LTS versions, I definitely am interested into writing one about 7. But there, as you know, when you're writing, there's always room for improvement. So you start to find these little details into your own work and your own book that you want to improve. So I really want to, or we really want to start from the beginning and maybe build up an even better book that works even better and is even more flexible in terms of where you can pick it up and start off. So definitely thinking about it, haven't started it yet, but perhaps Zabbix 7 is coming.
And the question probably from me, like perhaps you have some ideas or plans to write a book about monitoring, but not so much specifically about a Zabbix, because I always thought that like monitoring, it's sort of the culture, and many companies or people, whatever, who are getting inside this topic, they don't even get till the problems with the software. They start to struggle in the beginning, like, okay, we need to monitor what, why, what could be the thresholds, what can we get with this data. So I think for some people it could be also beneficial to like understand the logic, the potential benefits, and yeah, like what it's all about.
Yeah, definitely. I've considered writing different kinds of books about this, a short book, for example, about what is monitoring, how can we use it, what's out there in terms of applications. I mean, we are a hardcore fanboy-like Zabbix company. We only do Zabbix. That's our main goal, our main product that we work with. But just comparing stuff and looking at the actual concept of monitoring would be definitely an interesting kind of booklet, like something 100, 150 pages maybe, that can get people interested and learn more about it. So perhaps it's still something on the list of things to do.
Sounds good, sounds promising. That's definitely something that people could be waiting for. And so thank you for this conversation. It was a pleasure to talk with you about Zabbix, about the books, and all the sharing to the community. And we'll definitely see you later, somewhere around here in a Zabbix Summit on premise, finally, after 2 years of the break. So thank you once again, and see you later.
Thanks a lot. See you later.